look at things from an internal and external perspective. External meaning things outside of you and things that you cannot necessarily control. Okay, so that is the actions of other people. That is the growth and development of other people. That is the happenings of the world around you. That is all external. And while we can influence the external world around us, we stand a better chance of controlling that external environment when internally we've got our shit sorted. When internally we know who we are, we know what we stand for, we know what's important to us. This is why I love values so much, because when your internal world, if you think of your internal space as the column, when it is feeling void, when there are gaps in it, when it's on shaky ground, then you become very reactive to the external world. And that's when your life is more dictated by the external world because your internal world is not on solid footing. Does that make sense? So what we want to try and do, and everything that I'm trying to teach you over this next few days, is to develop more strength within that internal column of who you are. Okay? Now, equally to that, the internal world is your thoughts, your feelings, your drives, your motivators, the way that you perceive yourself, others, the world, future, and everything around you. That is what you have sole responsibility for. And the more that you recognize that your responsibility lies for your internal world, the more you are then able to influence, create, change the external world and the way that you see it. Okay? Now, your values, the way that all of this links in, is because when that internal column that I'm talking about, when it is rock solid with the things that are important to you at that point in time, and you use that as your true north to make decisions that influence the external world, then the external world won't feel or seem so chaotic. Okay, does this make sense? So core values are those things that are important to you. They are not necessarily characteristics. They are not necessarily traits. So sometimes people can think that a value is, kindness and positivity and things like that. Yeah, they are values, but they're not necessarily the things that are going to help you to align decisions for a more positive outcome. So when you start to consider your values, look beyond just traits of other people, traits of things and circumstances, and start to look at the feelings that those traits provide for you. Okay? Other examples of values could be security, okay? A sense of safety, a sense of peace. Like I said, I've previously had adventure as a value for me for a very long time, and I lost that sense of adventure in the last 12 months, and I sort of became very hibernated, and I got lost in nothingness because that sense of adventure just kind of zapped away. I made decisions that did not allow for adventure, but rather dampened it, really, if I'm brutally honest. So that's what I mean by a value. And I hope for those of you who are watching now and for those who watch the replays later, you're starting to get a bit of a vibe for what values actually mean. Another way that you can question this is, what is important to me? What is important to me is a really brilliant question that you can ask yourself that will provide you with a more clear answer rather than just, what do I value? Because what do I value can be answered 1,000 different ways. But what's important to me? Important is the top of the list, okay? Important, when you think of important, there's not much that goes above important. And me, what's important to me? Not interested in what's important to your family, not interested in what's important to the world, to the community, to everyone around you. What's important to you as the individual. So when you're on your own, those things that are important to you, when they're being met, you are satisfied without the input of others. And again, this is about helping you to identify who you are individually without the influence of others. Being a mum is something that can definitely sway our values because so many of us, and again, if we link this back into why so many of us feel lost in the first place when life transitions through different periods, when we become a mum, we often prioritise everyone else's what's important instead of our own.